Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to the third episode of Startup Grind. Today with a very interesting host. Before we start, I would like to give a big thank you to KPMG for making this event possible tonight. What's going to happen now is an about hour-long interview followed by Q&A, and then we're going to have some networking here in the Big Lab afterwards. So without further ado, I would like to invite our speaker this evening, who is very successful game developer and entrepreneur, Filip Fischer.
Do we have to sit?
Yeah, it will be good.
Right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, Filip.
So guys, just sit here. Don't be shy.
Move over here.
I'm not spitting while talking.
Wheels.
Right.
Okay, so why don't we start with you giving us a little background about yourself and telling us how you became who you are today.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, let's keep it short because I assume there'll be more questions coming up with details. But I started in a kindergarten. No, just kidding. Sorry. So my kind of like first part of being kind of myself was high school, which was a bilingual thing, Slovak German. Then I thought it would be good to continue with German. Many people hate it, but you know, I kind of, due to my name, I kind of like the language. So there were many options back then for me. I knew that I wanted kind of like became something with computer science because it sounded kind of cool. I was doing some exams for 2 universities in Bratislava, but then decided to go to Vienna, to Technical University. I stayed there for some 5 or 6 years, I don't remember exactly. And then I decided to quit that because wasn't really happy there. So I came back to Bratislava. I was kind of totally unsure what I was supposed to do with my life. Was a bartender for a few months. Then started at AT&T. Back then, I guess, like maybe some HR person from that company could correct me, but I think I was like employee number 23 or something like that. And now it's like a few hundred, if not more than 1,000 people, right? That was quite a cool time back then. And after that, there came an opportunity from a friend of mine and a former classmate who founded a company doing games. So I said like, wow, that's cool. So let's do games. Joined the company. Didn't work well after 4 years something. It ended, not very successfully, quite the opposite. And so out of that kind of frustration, we founded a new company which was called PixelFederation, which became after a few years some hundreds something employees. And after a while, I decided to change that, to move on. I was part of a Czech company, so I moved to Prague for a few months actually. It was supposed to be a bit longer in the beginning. Then again, it came to a split. And after that, I found a new company in Prague, which is called Charge Monkey, and that's where I'm today, basically.
Okay, great, thank you. So let's talk a bit more about the early days of PixelFederation. So how did you meet with your co-founders, and how long did it take for the company to take off and become a successful business?
Yeah, so like all of the co-founders, we were 4 at the beginning. All of us worked at a a gaming company, which was like my first job in games industry. It was called Tentacle Studios. We were working on a project called Elvion, which was like, I think Microsoft kind of featured that as like one of the top upcoming projects at a certain point in time. I think I was like 2005, 6. Yeah, this was like where we met. And as the company kind of like came to a crash and decline, we thought like dude, we can do better. And so we founded a company. Yeah, and that was pretty romantic at the beginning because we had no business plan, nothing. You know, we were like, yeah, we can do better, but what? And after a few months, we found like, okay, we need to make our living because you need to eat something and pay, and so we started to do web design, and we're kind of like exploiting all our contacts around. But the mission was we want to get back to games development. That was like our life, our passion. And we thought like we can do something, you know, like to make a living. And besides that, we start doing games. You can guess how it turned out.
Yeah. So I know that one of the most successful games PixelFederation ever made is Trainstation. Why trains? Like, why did you decide to focus on this particular topic?
Yeah. So that kind of also ties into the history of Pixel, because at a certain point in time, I think it was something like 2008. We knew that this plan, like doing web design and corporate design manuals and whatever you can get from the outside, just doesn't work. It doesn't produce enough money to fund something besides that and do games. So we found an investor, or perhaps, to be honest, he found us. And he invested in our company basically just. Still, we had no business plan, so he invested in our company just because he believed in the bunch, you know, like, good, you're great, and I believe in you, and yeah, let's do something together. So out of that money, we got into the company, like our first investment. We thought like the greatest idea ever would be like, let's differentiate the risk and split it, so we don't put all the money on just one card, but we pick a few cards and put money on those cards. Never do that. So we produced one iPhone game, 2 Nintendo DS games, and we produced one web game. And actually, while doing so, the web game turned out to be something that made a lot of fun for us. One thing, and also people are interested in that game, which wasn't true about the other 3. So, and that's where we came in time, and then we found like, okay, we don't have no money, and Facebook was coming out at the time, and we thought like, yeah, it'd be great to do something on Facebook, but we didn't know at the beginning like what could be the thing. We saw like back then you had all these kind of games like Farmville, Words with Friends, or these kind of games, the brain game. We thought like yeah, this is not really our genre. And then we kind of like forced that in ourselves, that let's come up with concepts for Facebook. And Simon, he came up with a concept for a train game. But I would say like we had few concepts which were not bad at all, but we saw like, oh, trains, yeah, let's do that. Because we knew that there is a market. We knew that there's people like us who played with trains, with railroads when we were young kids. So this must work. And then we looked around and made something that we later on knew that is called market research. And we found like, yeah, there is no train game out there, like nothing. So we were like, yeah, let's do it. And the only missing thing was funds. So we had to get another investment in order to make it happen.
So it's obvious that that time PixelFederation was doing very well, but what happened is that you decided to leave the company. My question is, what made you to decide to actually leave the company during such a blossoming period?
Yeah. It's a it's a valid question. You know, it comes, I think, from the fact, and I would just go perhaps a little bit like a rewind in that, because many times you hear that like at conferences and stuff is like what's the best number of co-founders for a company? And you hear a lot of, I think, like based on personal experience, like a lot of answers to that. I must say, for myself, to be honest, I would never found a company just by myself because it sucks. You have like no fun. You have no partner in the company you can talk with and solve all the problems. And this is also then a part of the problem, like I think at a later stage for a company, because a company needs one leader. It needs one guy who leads that company. And I think there were like few parts of that problem. I would say like one of that was that like among the leaders of the company, like we were back at the time like 3 active co-founders at the company, like running the company, and it eventually comes to the point where you say like I want to go this way, and someone say I want to go that way, and sometimes you can just fit these things together and get like out of that like one vector pointing in the direction, and sometimes not, right? So this time would be, I said, like also for the internal communication for the company. If you are a leader, you need to have the authority. First of all, you need to have also like free hands, so to speak, right? So the freedom to decide and lead. And I thought like this is the time for the company where it has to do this way. Secondly, like I don't know how many of you guys have or are part of bigger companies, but it's also natural that at a certain point of time you have like, we were 3 co-founders. Typically, like for one co-founder, you can have let's say something between 10 or 20 people in the company. And after reaching this kind of critical mass, you need to have like a middle management in the company because you're not able to run it by yourself. And this middle management is in a very different position than the co-founders, right? Because a co-founder is a co-founder. If there would be a co-founder who is like just cleaning the dishes, he still would be like saying, if someone asks him like, what do you think about it? And it's like, it sucks. So it will be still like a very, very respected opinion, unfortunately. So, and this is what actually I think happens, that at a certain point of time you have to say like, okay, guys, I believe you, you want to go that direction, I need to move on. And I think, like looking back, I was 7 years at Pixel. It was the right decision because it was just eyes opening, right? So because like for 7 years you are actually like on a highway, like, you know, like this, what is it called? The tunnel effect, you know, like speeding on a motorbike, and everything is just, you know, passing by really fast because you need to go forward, you need to move on, you're constant stress, and suddenly, you know, just you brake and you stay there and you like take a look around and like, wow. Yeah. And that was the wow effect for me, which was incredible after that time. And I started to talk with people, to meet people, to be part of other companies. And suddenly you realize like all these problems that we had, like there were like people before who had these problems actually. I was like, wow. And like that period of time where I wasn't actually part of another company like directly, but that period of time was like really, really great learning for me, for myself, meeting people, discussing problems, and so on.
So let's talk a bit more about this, because not many people actually know that you moved from co-founding position to actually getting employed by another company. What motivated you to actually do this, and perhaps how long did you stay with this company?
Yeah, so after this period at Pixel and having like this slow process of kind of like disconnecting from the company, which was like really like what do you call it, like one side like pulling the plug, on the other side is like really like a child that you know, like I don't know what it's called in English, you know, like disconnecting from the mother. It was a hard process, but there was an opportunity for to work for a company in Prague, which is also a gaming company, and I thought, like, for myself that'd be a great experience, first of all, and it would be also like part of that disconnecting process, you know, like get the hell out of here and just leave it and don't think about it, don't bother with it, just let the guys do their job. Yeah, back then I thought it'd be a great idea, and I think it was a good idea, really, to sort things out. So it became like independent and so on. But I would never actually repeat that. But I had like a lot of learnings from that. So the motivation why I did that was get out of Bratislava and get to know another city, another company, another people. There was a big challenge of kind of like building that company, because they got like a recent investment from a big company, like something like 3 million euros. And I thought that this would be like a good also confirmation for myself and for what I learned, and I felt kind of like ready for that, right? It's like a new challenge. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. So, and after a time, also things didn't go really well there. The problem for the company, like the main problem, was like there was a clash between the founder and the CEO of the company, and that really disrupted anything that would be like a like creative, functional thing in that company. It was really bad. So this conflict, because I knew that there is something like that going on, but people told me like it's not that bad and it's, you know, getting better, and you're gonna work it out. After a certain period of time, I found like the founder as well as the CEO, both of them seeked like a confirmation that their thinking and their way is the right one, like for me, so they can like again fight each other. And it came to an end. They fired the CEO, so the founder won, and then I thought, like, as I was hired by the CEO, I should also go, you know, and just leave it up to the guy. So again, he can do like whatever he wants, and his way wasn't mine, by the way. So there was a natural like a consequence of that. But the learnings, there were really hard learnings for me. So I found out, like, back to your question, actually, sorry for that big loop. I found out I won't never ever work for a company.
Good advice.
Because
Why is that?
because I consider myself to be an entrepreneur, and I'm not the guy who would actually be the one like subordinate to orders from above, you know, like do this, do that.
Is it because those orders suck, or is it because you just don't like being told?
That's a good question, actually.
What was that role? What was your daily job?
My role was, I was part of the board of the directors, so there were like three persons of us. So the CEO, the founder, and myself as the chief operating officer. So I was actually the head of the studio, because our CEO was German and he wasn't like on site all the time. So I was heading the studio. I was in charge of all the products that were in place. I was in charge of marketing, analytics, and tech.
You're in charge of everything and somebody was telling you what to do, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And I would say like the main problem was again like the clash between those two people, because one would say like we have to do this, and the other one would say like no, that's totally wrong. We have to go this way. So I was kind of like in between and trying to put together the people so they are aligned. They know like what's the vision. They know what to do. And when I was slowly, because this is like really a construct, I'm a quite a systematic person, so I was like building it up, and then someone would just come from the outside and say like no, we have to do that, you know. So they would like get slowly people on board, convince them that this is the right direction. We have to do this. We have to move on, and then just after a week, someone just comes from the outside and everything is gone. So, and the second learning that I would like to emphasize from that was at that stage, I would never go into a company or would like to have to do something with investment companies that I'm not talking directly to the decision makers, because like this company had a long history. You know, there were like many investment rounds done already. And this was really bad, like for a company that was doing bad itself and needed like this new kick, you know, to find like what's the new sweet spot for the company after quite a few years. And that was just bad because you would talk to managers of a fund who report to someone who makes the decision. And this sucked also pretty much. Like I mean, like I can imagine that like for a company that runs good and has a solid business and so on, is viable. But for a company which is again like something like a startup, it's right.
Yeah.
And if you need like we go this direction, but we need to pivot for something new, it is totally impossible.
Yeah. Okay. So moving further and going back to your entrepreneurial endeavors, you went on to founding another company, Charge Monkey,
Yeah.
for which you managed to raise some capital. So apparently the company is doing well. So what's your plan with this company? Where would you see it in future, in next years?
Oh my goodness. I would like to see it in the top charts. Of course. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. The road will be long and hard. I hope not long. Hard for sure. Yeah. If we are successful or not, yeah. I mean, we are doing pretty well. We managed to put together a concept for a game that I believe in and all the team believes in. I think it's a great thing. We managed to put together a great team, like really senior team, which has something like 9 years average experience in game development, which is fantastic. And we enjoy what we do. Like we have a lot of fun together in Prague. We have people who are like the headquarters for our companies in Prague. We have people like from all over the region. And the guy who is like the farthest away, like he lives now in Nové Zámky, Newcastle. But he's from Malaysia, so it's a cool thing. Yeah, like the core for the team comes from the Czech company I used to work for. Like most of the people I hired back then at that company, and after that we split. These guys had like also not too much belief in staying there, so we decided to found a new company.
Okay, interesting. So I know that Charge Monkey is also related to your different project, which is Game Dev Hub, established in Bratislava and also in Prague. So my question is, what actually motivated you to create a platform for game developers? And I'm curious because it's very interesting what you've done with this. Why you wouldn't rather invest into more games where you can actually see some direct success, or you can have some high return on your investment?
Yeah.
Why did you decide to establish such a platform?
Yeah, there's two parts for that. First of all, I was already, and actually the base for the Game Dev Hub was founded here in Bratislava in Slovakia. It was still when I was part of Pixel, and eventually you run into the problem like hiring new people, finding like new opportunities and so on and so on. And there was just nothing like that in Slovakia. So that was like the very basics to that. And we can talk about it like more about specifically a Game Dev Hub. Then I thought like being in Prague and founding like a new studio, of course you need an office. And already like for Game Dev Hub Slovakia, I was thinking about like what could be the next step to make it like even more apparent, more fancy for that concept, like how to support game developers. And of course, as I was doing a lot of stuff with startup incubators and so on, so I was like, it would be great to have a space which is just for game development, but didn't have the time, the money, nothing like to do that. And then it came back in Prague as a topic, like, guys, we need an office. And I was like, yeah, but of course you could like rent this kind of typical, like the flat, which is like reworked to an office, which you have like a shitty internet connection and all the problems attached to it, So I said like, no, don't do that. And I was talking with a couple of other developers, and one of them, Mingle Games, Vladas Pevak was really like, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do something like a creative space for game development in Prague. And he found another company that joined us. The guys from Fun to Robots joined us as well. And that was like, okay, seeing that, we have like 30 developers who will be sitting there. Mm-hmm. And that became actually the critical mass for building something like that, first of all, right? So like one part of that problem is like we had to find a new office, so this was the solution, which was great. And on the other side, it was like after these, what is it actually today? It's something like 12 or 13 years in game development. You see all the problems, and we made a decent success, at least like for the region, it's like a great success. So I thought like it would be time to give back some of that success back in the system, and it was also the idea behind Game Dev Hub, like the regular meetups, the creative space, and so on, to really encourage people to do games in Slovakia. It's possible to do it. It's possible to make money with it. It's possible to make a living out of that. It's possible to become super successful, yeah, that's actually where we are today, right?
Very interesting story. So let's talk more about on a general note. So how do you see the future of a gaming? Let's say, for example, in relationship to VR, which is now being very discussed, kind of clash with gaming industry. So how do you see it?
Yeah, VR is a very, very interesting technology, but also on the other hand, seeing like VR is like a topic that returns over every few years. I'm not sure whether I would really like fund a startup, like a gaming startup for doing some VR today. It would depend perhaps on the details, because I think the technology itself still has, like, if you would write down a list of problems, the list would be rather long, but there definitely is like close on a really like a breakthrough. So I think we will expect and we will see something happening there like in a few years, I would say, when the technology matures. And I would say, I believe, like even more than in VR, I think like, you know, people, like human being is a lazy animal. And you see like the progress that was made like the last few years was all the time, it was like lazier. Today you are like, you don't bother with sitting at a computer to play a game, you just lay on the couch and take your tablet and enjoy something, right? So I think like back then it was like this kind of motorbike helmet that you had to put on. Today it's like still a massive piece of technology. And I think when it becomes really lightweight, and that's why I believe more in becoming something like what's today Microsoft HoloLens, for instance, or maybe some of that HTC, whatever, these mobile kind of applications. That's a good start. That's a good start for that, and it will take some time till that technology matures. But I'm really amazed by combining actually not just VR but making it AR. So it combines the reality with virtual reality, and just like in those showcases by Microsoft, I mean like are not really working yet, right? But that's something mind blowing. Like if that becomes true, that I think like this is the future. It's not about wearing a big helmet on your head and walking around, but I think it's like about combining the real space with the virtual space.
Interesting. So I learned from our mutual friend that you come from artist family actually. So do you think this had influence that you actually became a game developer, and might also influence the fact that you found passion in creating new things? So really creative person you are.
Yeah, well,
does it relate?
I think I consider myself to be a creative person, although I'm quite a systematic person, so my kind of creativity is more kind of like finding systems and putting things together and identifying synergies. I'm from an artistic family, yes, partially. My father, he's a professor of fine arts, so I've been dragged like through a lot of exhibitions when I was a kid, and I was really annoyed by that. But today I'm kind of thankful because I understand a little bit of arts. I have some feeling for that. But my mother, she's more technical because she's a physicist. She studied physics. By the way, was doing like her diploma on liquid crystal technology, which was back then. I was like 78, I think, when she graduated. So it was like a new thing. And today or recently, because she's also close to her retirement, she was leading which is called Slovak Academy of Sciences Institute for Computer Technology. So different, right? So, but I was always like in this clash between the artistic stuff and the technical stuff. As I said, like I studied computer science before I quit that. I thought like this would be my way to be like a technical person, like an engineer, and I was impressed by engineering and so on. But because of this clash in myself, and because perhaps it's like one hemisphere, the other hemisphere, I don't know, this schizophrenia made me to a producer, basically, like a manager type of person who understands like both aspects. Although I can't do any of them.
So you have this equally distributed inputs from your background.
I guess so. I don't know. Like I guess some other person could judge that.
It's a nice combination. So let's talk a bit more about the current startup environment here in Slovakia. So how would you comment on like development of past years, and like what would you consider main strengths and on the other hand weaknesses of this ecosystem?
So I'm kind of part of that startup fashion, I would say. Since actually I was kind of like disconnecting from Pixel. The fun thing about it is like we found a startup before it was like fashion, which I'm not now emphasizing because obviously there have been like startups like way before that. But just to comment on that, it was like for me, and for instance, like I guess all of you know the book Lean Startup by Eric Ries. I read it this year in August on vacation because I need to take time off, and it was just an amazing experience for me. It was like, we did this, you know, like, and we did it, oh my goodness. So it was like also like an eye-opener in that many times like you just grow from the problems that you encounter like in your environment, in your product, you know. And I'm not sure really like if you need all this theory. There was like one point I would like to say, and the second, I was really the last few years thinking a lot about what makes a startup, let's call it startup, successful, and this is like the question of the question, right? We have all these incubators, all these programs, mentorships, you name it. Is it really necessary? Like, does it work actually? And it's like for people like ourselves, we succeeded also without that. Now I see like it would be like definitely beneficial to have the network, because the network could really like make our life a lot easier. But this is one part of it. The second part of it is experience, and the experience thing has one unique part to it, and it's not transferable. Right? I can tell you like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, and you will do it for sure. Because you have to gather your own experiences, and this is like really important.
So you said the network helps. How does it help? If you have the internet and you can access any conference material and you can look at problems of startups around the world, how does kind of
the network helps you a lot, because I think like from my perspective, like there's like these two things to it, right? Having like experienced people who did that, whatever is that before, and on the other hand, like that network is really important because it helps you to find opportunities. Basically, it's not really about know-how, because know-how ties into
people to hire and stuff like that, right?
People to hire, to find like great options like for funding, for getting onto a new platform that is emerging, and the platform operator gives incentives for you to create a new product for that platform and so on. So this is really important as well, the opportunity. And I think like this is the two things that the starting, like the really starting people don't have, and that's why also part of the solution to the problem, because I want to contribute to the ecosystem and make people successful, because if there is more successful startups and companies and people, everybody will profit from that, as well as our company and our companies. That's also part of the solution named Game Dev Hub for us. So to help game developers to get that experience, to get in touch with people who are senior game developers.
So you think it's important and kind of crucial for the development of this ecosystem to actually have people that are willing to support this ecosystem and kind of pass on their experience, their expertise, and open their network to young companies or aspiring entrepreneurs. So this is kind of the direction that should be taken.
Yeah, definitely. I'm like always when someone asks me like what are my kind of fundamentals, like a very like on the top is like transparency and this openness. because it helps a lot. And I think it's like I would say some years back, it was like a real problem for game developers to talk to each other, because I was like, most of the time I was like, I'm working on a new game. Yeah, so what's the game? Show me. No, like secret. No. You would copy that, steal that, publish that, and I would be like, again, eating the dry baguette, so to speak. Right? So, and we tried to break this kind of mentality, because we are not competitors here. We are not, definitely not. Like, there's a huge international market out there. Anybody can have a piece of cake. So.
Yeah. Okay. This is gonna be a last question from my side. So, what would you tell young aspiring entrepreneur who got some great business idea and essentially want to be successful with this idea and build a big company? What would be your message to such person?
I think that's pretty easy, because like if you never done that before, just go out there and get some experience wherever you can get it, wherever. So that's what matters the most. I think, and for ourselves, like also at Pixel, it was really vital and really super important, honestly, to get like through these production cycles, to make out of an idea a product or a service that ships and is on the market and gets real user feedback. I think this is like, I would say, like any person who never did this cycle before as a startup will fail potentially, because there is like so many learnings on that way, so many learnings. So I would say like this is the thing, like try to become a part of the team who is building a product, service. If possible, then of course try to learn from people who are successful, because the success also makes a huge difference. We had like with one friend of mine this discussion, like also a failure brings you forward. But yes, of course, but in a failure you learn how to not do things, and in a success you learn how to do the things actually. So I think like it's really super important to try to find someone who is doing something that's part of your passion, because if you're passionate about that, the energy, I call it like an energy niveau, is stable. You get into a plus because you do something you like, instead of opposite, like doing something I don't like costs me energy. Doing stuff that I like recharges my batteries. It's also like part of our name, like Charge Monkey. So we like, yeah, and that's it. That's it basically. Like find something you're passionate about, you like, it's your like what you want to do, and try to become part of a startup or a company that's successful, and learn how they do the business.
Okay, thanks. Let's now move on to some questions from Slido, and then we can also give you a word if you didn't put your question up there. So first question, what do you consider your role as CEO, and how do you lead and motivate your team?
Oh my goodness. I would say nowadays, and perhaps I don't know, like I would say, or dare to say, like it's in IT in general. What is an IT company? What's a gaming company? It's a bunch of people. Typically, if working, I'm not just saying like working on one product or service. Mostly like a bunch of people who are working and having all these different roles and fields of expertise. So the structure of the company is flat. It's like a worm. And there is a CEO. So basically it's very clear that the CEO, some kind of directional or direct authority, kind of like leadership doesn't work, because you need to have people who are autonomous, who can make their own decisions. So compared to warfare, you would say like it's today's war is being decided by the small soldier on the field out there. And you can't have a central authority which is telling him something to do. So the role for myself, I'll just cut it off, I know I'm talking too much. It's basically about alignment, I would say, like that's the crucial part. Strategy, having a vision, and aligning the people, and just let them do. Just do your job, because you can decide. I'm not a marketer. I can't tell a marketer like, today you have to spend 5,000 euros because you have the opportunity. No, he has the opportunity. He sees the opportunity. He has to decide. I can't tell a developer guy, come on, just do it differently. There is an API connected with this, whatever. No, I'm not a developer. I'm not an artist either. Like I can't tell an artist like, I could eventually, but that would be a total failure, because he has to decide. He has to make the decisions at the battlefield every day. And I just have to make sure I have the best people I can get. I have the best working environment I can get. For me, it's Game Dev Hub. And I have those people aligned so they know like where we go, like what are the next steps. I actually don't believe that much in making like big schedules and planning, because that changes that much. It's more and better to have like a clear vision. What are the next steps? What we want to do? What we want to achieve? Actually, this is the goal, and all of you just contribute to reach that goal. And let's see what's next.
Okay. So let's move on to another question. What was the hardest to convince team member, and how you aligned him with your vision? So maybe you can pick one of your companies. Yeah.
To convince him like join the company, I guess, right?
Yeah, sell him your vision and make him to actually. Perhaps I think this is where the question is heading.
And then I would say this would not happen really, right? Because if there is someone who is not aligned, who is not on board, it's useless to try to convince him, because obviously he wants to move in another direction. So we don't have a common language, so to speak, right? So I would say I was never kind of like trying to convince anybody like doing kind of like sales, like, oh, we are also a company and whatever. No, because just come and see, for yourself. We do this, we do that. We want to get there, and just be realistic about it. Because I like people to have like a true motivation from the inside, because you can't create an external motivation that works. Actually, that's my opinion.
Okay.
Right, because the external motivation is something that has to increase over time, be it money, for instance, or position or whatever, because then the person is not happy with what he is actually doing. He is happy with the status he's getting, he's happy with the money he's getting, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah.
So there is actually one question that came to my mind. Now there is a trend that many developers are working on their sideline projects as they're still employed. So what's your take on this? Is it well to leave these people work on their sideline projects, or rather shut them down and just focus on their daily routine? You, as from perspective of a CEO or founder of the company, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've encountered this problem, so to speak, maybe for some people a problem, many times, and I would say there's like a few different points of view on that. First of all, if you're a bigger company, just like Pixel or the other Czech company or whatever, then typically you're working on a game, and for our industry, mobile and web, it's a game as a service. So let's say you're working on Trainstation at Pixel. The game was started like pretty precisely 5 years ago, in October 2010. Now imagine that you would have to work on that for 5 years. Would that make you happy? I would say, yeah, definitely no. And of course, if you have great people on the team, the people just don't want to do repetitive stuff. They want to be like also creative and just live out what their expertise. So typically, you would try to find this kind of engine of innovation in the company, which is then hackathons, lectures, brainstorms, whatever. So those people can also like trigger and let their creativity go. And the best thing that can happen for the company is that this kind of silent projects would actually emerge. So within the company. So this would be like also a task for any of those companies out there that make that innovation process part of your company and try to suck in all these ideas, give the people the power to be creative and do new projects. On the other hand, if something like that would happen, like at my company, I would never kind of say, don't do it, because it would just tell me that I'm doing something wrong at my job, right? Because if those people have need to leave their profession outside of the company, I'm doing something wrong. I have to give them the opportunity to do it within my company, be creative, bring your ideas, and let's push it together another level. Let's do a spin-off, let's do whatever. There's so many opportunities, just, those people have to believe and trust, and my role as a CEO would be just give them the opportunity.
Right. Let's take one more question from Slidu. Sorry. How do you know that product is ready for release?
Now, in the business that we do, meaning games as a service, it's really difficult. But typically, you would do a soft launch or pre-soft launch and try to get data from real users, and that's for me like again mentioning the book that I read during summer holidays, the Lean Startup. It's written like really in the Bible. I don't mind that it's really becoming a startup Bible, because it's so true in many things that are in there. Many things that we learned just on the go. By the way, the only thing that I was really happy and excited about was like that the book was written in 2011 and we found it Pixel 2007. So I was like, oh my goodness, good timing. Yeah. So again, back to the question. When it's really ready for release, just bring it onto any relevant kind of sample market, and you will find out really soon. And the sooner you do it, the better. And just test it on real users. The worst thing you can do is just iterate on something just behind the closed doors and don't think it's ever ready. Just make a list of the core features of the product that requires that someone can use it and ship it, and then you see like what happens. So that's actually something that we are also trying to do with Charge Monkey and our new game. Of course, the way is always, it's not a straight line, but we are trying to push it like as straight as possible to this one goal, get the game out there and let it play by real users. Yeah. So I would say like that's it. It's like if you postpone it, like the thing is never ready for the market, right? All the time you can do something more, and this icon, let's tweak this icon, and no, just ship it.
Okay. So, any questions from the audience? Anyone?
Everybody's so shy. No, we have one bold guy. Go ahead. No,
Not that bold.
not bold.
I would like to ask you, how do you manage to market your games on Facebook successfully? If you have maybe if you do anything special or differently.
Actually, there is nothing special about it because we are marketing. We are like there is few parts of that. The most important part on that is, and that's what gave us the kick with Pixel in the beginning with Trainstation, was that we kind of like were in the situation where we had very little money left on our bank account. We had a product that was actually ready to be shipped, and then we decided, also talking with the team quite openly, like, guys, we either pay out the salaries for the next month and we'll be left with a couple of €1,000 perhaps, or we now start doing marketing on Facebook and just regular kind of pay-per-click banner ads on Facebook. So we did, and that was successful, and that was also a right time on Facebook because the return of the investment in the early stages was like 7 days for the marketing. Today it's 90. Today we consider a successful campaign on Facebook with ROI of 90 days, and that we keep alive. So it's become hard. It became harder. So today you need to have like a proper monetization in the game so it works. So the lifetime value and the acquisition costs, of course, it's like that. But pay-per-click marketing is a small part of it, and you need the viral installs, you need the organic installs as well. So if you are working on a game, make sure either your monetization potential is really high, so the lifetime value is really high, so you can afford to pay for the users those insane today, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 euros per install, which is really, really insane. Or then just try to lower the acquisition costs, being smart, using the, let's say, Facebook open graph, publishing stuff, and so on and so on and so on. Yeah, and also there's one more thing. If you are spending money on any platform and you do like decent volumes, and your app is growing and so on, then most likely you will be contacted by the platform operator, and they will support you in getting more growth and more momentum for your application or game. But I would say, like, still, at least the pay-per-click marketing is like planting the seeds all over the place. So it's really important. Also, if you would have a viral app, then I still would do some pay-per-click marketing because it's important.
All right, Filip. Thank you very much for the interview. And ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to Filip Fischer. Some final words for tonight. So thank you very much again to KPMG for making this event happening. I would like to introduce you and invite you to our 4th episode that's going to take place at Impact Hub next month, 19th of November, and we're going to be interviewing Michal Stencil from Sajic. So make sure to come and put it on your calendar. And now, thank you very much all for coming. Have a nice evening, and perhaps stop by Filip and ask him other questions. Thank you.